Welcome to Her Subconscious Blueprint, your no BS space for subconscious healing, bold breakthroughs, and becoming the woman who actually lives the life that she dreams about. I'm Jen Boyd, hypnotherapist, mindset coach, and your new healing hype girl. Okay, so last week we talked about Quitter's Day and why January is not the best time to set goals. And today we're going to talk about goals, but not in the way that you've been taught. This is going to go against everything that you've been taught about goals. It's not hustle goals. It's not punishment goals. It's not fix yourself goals. We're going to talk about how to set goals that actually stick. Goals your nervous system don't rebel against. Goals that don't quietly activate shame, self-sabotage, or burnout. Because here's the truth, most people never learn. Goals don't fail because you lacked discipline. They fail because they're built on the wrong foundation. Most goals are set from pressure, from comparison, from fear, from the belief that if you don't change fast enough, you're going to fall behind or miss a chance. And when goals are born from fear, your nervous system treats them like a threat. It doesn't matter how much you want the outcome. Your body will resist anything that feels unsafe. It's its job to keep you safe. That's why so many people, they start strong and then suddenly they lose momentum. And it's not because they're lazy or not motivated or it's too hard. Not because they don't want it bad enough, but because their system never consented to the pace or the pressure. This season has been about embodiment, about safety, integration, and trusting yourself again. And goal setting has to evolve with that. You don't set goals to become worthy. You set goals from worthiness. And that distinction, it changes everything. For a long time, I would set goals the way most of us were taught to, as proof that I was disciplined enough, committed enough, evolved enough, healed, right. And every time I fell short, it reinforced the same old story and patterns. Well, I must not be trying hard enough. I must be doing something wrong. I must be missing something. What is wrong with me? But the story was never true. What I was missing wasn't willpower. It was safety. I was setting goals from the version of me that I thought I should be, not the version of me that I actually was. And your nervous system always knows the difference. That's why this episode matters so much. So listen up, girl. Because when you learn how to set goals with your nervous system instead of against it, consistency becomes natural. You stop starting over every few months. You stop oscillating between motivation and shame. You stop turning growth into another place where you abandon yourself. Goals that stick don't demand that you become something else overnight. They meet you where you are and gently invite you forward. This is the shift I want you to feel as you listen to this. You don't need a bigger goal. You need truer ones. Goals that honor your capacity. Goals that respect your peace. Goals that feel like alignment, not obligation. And that starts with identity. Because you don't raise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your nervous system. If your system associates growth with overwhelm, pressure, or failure, it will put the brakes on every single time. So before we even talk about how to break goals down or make them manageable, we need to talk about who is setting that goal. What version of you is setting that goal? Not who you want to be, not who you think you should be by now, but who you are today. Because goals that stick are built from self-trust, not self-criticism. And self-trust is built through small, consistent follow-through, not dramatic promises you can't sustain. This is why massive All or nothing goals feel exciting at first, but then they collapse. They bypass safety. They skip to the step where your body says yes, and your body always gets a vote. So if you've ever wondered why you can't visualize something clearly, want it deeply, and still feel blocked when it comes time to act, this is why. You're not broken. Your system is protecting you from peace. It doesn't trust yet. That protection isn't the enemy. It's information. And when you learn how to listen to it, everything changes. One of the most important things I had to learn about goal setting was this, that your nervous system doesn't respond to the size of the dream. It responds to the safety of the steps. We've been taught that bigger goals require bigger effort, more discipline, more willpower, more pushing through resistance. But what actually creates follow-through is not intensity. It's manageability. Your system needs to feel like success is possible. When a goal feels too big or too vague or even too far away, your body doesn't get excited. It gets overwhelmed, and overwhelmed shuts down consistency faster than anything else. That's why smaller goals lead to bigger results. Not because you're aiming lower, but because you're building trust. And every small goal that you keep is evidence to your nervous system that you are safe to follow yourself, that you don't abandon yourself, that when you say you're going to do something, you actually do it without punishment, pressure, or shame. And that trust compounds. This is where identity-based goals change everything. Most people set outcomes based on goals. Lose weight, make the money, fix the relationship, achieve the thing. But outcomes are external. And when your focus is external, your sense of success is always fragile. Identity-based goals ask different questions. Who do I need to be in order for this outcome to become reality? Not someday, and being is not abstract. Being shows up in behaviors, in choices, in how you treat yourself on ordinary days when motivation is low and no one's watching. For example, instead of saying, my goal is to get healthy, an identity-based goal might be, I am someone who keeps small promises to my body. That could look like a 10-minute walk, or drinking water before coffee, or stretching for 5 minutes before bed. These actions may seem insignificant, but they're not. They're teaching your nervous system a new pattern and safety. They're saying, I can trust myself. They're saying that change doesn't hurt. They're saying consistency is safe. And once your system learns that, momentum becomes natural. This is why breaking goals down matters so much. Your big vision doesn't disappear when you focus on small steps. It becomes reachable. I want you to think of it like this. You don't climb a mountain by starting at the summit. You climb it by taking the next stable step in front of you. And if you try to leap from the bottom to the top, your body's going to freeze. Not because you're incapable, but because it knows that jump, it isn't safe. So if you've been setting goals that feel inspiring but paralyzing, this is your invitation to come back into your body. Ask yourself, what is the smallest version of this goal that still moves me forward? Not the vision that impresses others, not the vision that proves something, but the vision your system can actually sustain. This is where self-sabotage starts to dissolve, because self-sabotage is often just self-protection in disguise. When you try to move too fast, your system slows you down. When you demand perfection, your system rebels. When you tie your worth to outcomes, your system, it opts out. But when you move slowly, intentionally, and with compassion, the resistance softens. You don't have to fight yourself. You have to work with yourself. That is embodiment. And this season, I want you to stop asking, why can't I stick to my goals? and start asking, what would make this feel safe to follow through on? Would it be fewer goals, more rest, clearer boundaries, less pressure? Those answers matter more than motivation ever will. I want to say something that might be uncomfortable, but it's important. If a goal constantly makes you feel anxious, depleted, ashamed, then it's not aligned, no matter how good it looks on paper. Alignment is grounded. It doesn't mean easy. It means honest. Aligned goals stretch you without breaking you. They challenge you without erasing you. And they leave room for being human, because progress is not linear. Growth is not perfect. And becoming is not a straight line. Goals that stick are flexible. They evolve as you do. They allow you to adjust without collapsing into self-judgment. That's how you stop starting over. That's how you build a life instead of consistently trying to overhaul one. You don't need to overhaul yourself. You need to anchor yourself. And from that anchored place, action becomes clear, not rushed, not frantic, but clear. And as we come to the end of this conversation, I want you to let one thing settle in your body before you move on with your day. You don't need to become more disciplined to change your life. You don't need to become more self-trusting, because the goals that stick are not the ones you force yourself to chase. They're the ones that feel safe enough to walk towards consistency. You don't build trust with yourself by making massive promises. You build it by keeping small ones. You don't become aligned by pushing harder. You become aligned by listening more closely. So this season is not asking you to do everything at once. It's asking you to move differently than you have before. To stop churning growth into another place where you abandon yourself. If you've struggled with goals in the past, it doesn't mean you're not bad at follow-through. It means you are setting goals for a vision of you that didn't exist yet, and a nervous system that knew it. And that is not failure. That is wisdom. So as you move forward from here, I want you to release the idea that goals have to feel heavy or big or rigid or consuming. Let them feel grounded. Let them feel flexible. Let them feel honest. Choose goals that respect your capacity. Choose goals that honor your pace. Choose goals that feel like an invitation instead of a demand. And when you notice resistance, don't shame it. That's when you get curious. And what part of you needs that reassurance? Ask what step feels smaller. Ask what version of you you're leaning into trust. Because real momentum isn't created by pressure. It's created by safety. And safety is something you build with yourself, one choice at a time. You don't need to rush your becoming. You don't need to prove your worth through productivity. You don't need to arrive anywhere to be enough. You are allowed to build slowly. You are allowed to adjust. You are allowed to choose again. And that is not inconsistency. That's embodiment. And that's how goals stop being something that you fight against and you start becoming something that supports the life that you're actually living. And I am so grateful that you're here with me in this season. Grateful that you're willing to question old patterns, soften old pressure, create from truth instead of urgency. And I'm so full of love and gratitude that I get to share my story with you. This is her subconscious blueprint, where we don't chase the dreams, we become them. And remember, you don't get what you want, you get who you are. So go out and be that version of her today. Much love and gratitude. I will see you next time.